Hello. My last video I talked about when the pain stops, because we all want to know when the pain stops. It's excruciating and we want to know when it's going to be over. Just tell me when it's going to be over. Connected to that is in the exact minute that you think when's the pain, you're thinking, because you're going to miss your narcissist. You're going to miss them. And how do you get over missing the narcissist? How? And when I was in the thick of the back and forth, break up or not, one of the things that kept me there is I just could not picture not ever seeing my narcissist again. I couldn't picture that. I couldn't picture not the good things, not ever having those again, right? And that's what you're picturing when you say, how am I going to get over missing my narcissist? I'm going to miss him or her, right? And that's what we think. So, it's a good question, isn't it? It's very hard, but the things that help me is I broke it up into my 5% guy and my 95% guy. And I had talked about that before, right? That the 5% guy is the one of the love bombing phase and all those good memories and all those good things you think you're going to miss. I don't know what your percentages are, but I'm calling it a 5% of him. 95% of him, my narcissist, was a list of all of the bad things, the painful things, the awful memories, the ridiculously bad times that were present. The hell. Some of you have been really, really, really through some hell. And what I read, I'm astonished by. And my heart goes out to people. For the most part, I just have a little broken heart. Nothing that, like, people lose money, they lose visitation to their children because of these kinds of people. They lose a lot more than what I did. And I try to keep that in perspective as well. But when you're talking about missing your narcissist, it kind of is necessary to look at the 95%. That's my percentage. I don't know what yours is. And you might say, well, Renee, 50% in was really good. It wasn't 5% and 95. Well, all right then. So look at the other 50% that's bad. And it is hard. I mean, I'm not saying it's not hard. But you have to remember, the good person that you knew makes little tiny guest appearances in your life now. It's not like the first handful of years, months, weeks, I don't know what stage you are in your relationship, where the 5% guy was out all the time. I got to the end, I was so far away from the time period where the 5% guy was on stage all the time that it was kind of hard to miss him. I was like looking for, it was so intermittent that I would see that guy that by the end of the relationship, I thought, I'm already living without that guy. I'm already living in the relationship. I was already living without the 5% guy because the 95% bad guy was the one that was out all the time. Does that make sense? So it helped me navigate through the murky waters of how am I going to miss him. I was like, you know what? You haven't even seen that guy in a year. I was already missing him. In the relationship, I was already missing him. So it feels impossible to think that you're never going to see them again. And trust me, I get it. And I don't think that it's ever going to get easier in your mind as you're sitting there and you're thinking about it and contemplating it. It's tough. But when you, or if you, or the day you should make a break and go for it, I'm just sitting here to tell you that you will eventually catch on to the fact that you were already missing him or her while you were with them. And there's a few songs out there that have that line about, even though you're with them, you're alone anyway. And there's no worse feeling than feeling alone when you're next to somebody. I'd rather sit alone physically really alone and be alone in my aloneness than sit next to someone who's claiming to make me feel like a partner, yet I feel completely alone when I'm with them because they're nowhere in sight. Their mind's off somewhere else. Their behavior is off somewhere else. Not for me. I tried it on. It didn't fit. I didn't like it. So if you really think about the stage that your relationship is right now, aren't you already missing your 5% guy or girl? Think of the last time they did or said anything genuinely, well, I suppose they say that nothing they ever do is genuine. But think back to when they courted you, pursued you, wooed you. And if you're 60 and you've been together 30 years, you may not be able to remember, okay? And you may say to me, Renee, you know, we had a great 20 years. It was 20 years it was great. And then he changed. Well, maybe he's not a narcissist. Or maybe he is and it was dormant for that long. I don't know how it can go. There's a spectrum of behavior in this world, I think we've learned, on every level. But whatever the case is, think back to your courtship, his pursuit or her pursuit of you, when you two were at your best. How long has it been that you've seen that guy? How long has it been that you've experienced those feelings? And you are right now, I bet, longing for that experience. And you're already missing your narcissist. You're missing them now while you're in it. Because they don't show up. Again and again and again and again. And so I guess once I caught on to that, and I was sitting in a relationship that felt alone and it made me feel isolated from the world, that I thought, I'm already feeling alone. I'm already missing my 5% guy because I hardly ever see the dude. I'm hanging out with this 95% guy all the time, it seems. And I don't mean glimmers. They get you a cup of coffee, they do a little nice thing. No, I talked about that before, and we're so grateful. No, I want a consistent personality, one that puts in the work with me, one that does what, you know, we're one, we look at each other, if you haven't had that with your partner, maybe ever or for a long time, then aren't you missing them already? You're doing it now. You're doing it now. Just because they're in front of you and you're seeing them doesn't mean you're with them. And I found that more difficult, to have a person in front of me that I, metaphorically can't touch. Like, I can't reach that person. I can't reach him. I could not reach him, and narcissists are unreachable, we're learning, right? So I felt that to be so frustrating. I'd rather take the physical connection and break it and get used to not seeing him altogether. That's how I choose to deal with missing the narcissist. It was very difficult having him in front of me and knowing this isn't going to work out. Not going to work out. Because, with the back and forth breakups, at some point, oh my God, this is a repeated cycle and blah, 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 blah. To remove him from the picture allowed me to begin missing the physicalness of the person. And that was the last part to miss, because he was in front of me while we were in the relationship. Once I removed that, it becomes easier. It just does. Not out of sight, out of mind. I've never been that kind of person. But they're not reminding you daily in your face, you're seeing this person, and then you can picture everything with them that is the 5% guy, and then you're going to miss it in your face. So when you separate it, yes, you're still going to miss your 5% guy. But I encourage you to think of your 95% guy or gal, the one that did all the things wrong to you. And again, not to dwell, but to remind yourself of what you don't miss, and to remind yourself how peaceful your life can be without those things in it. And if you miss them, That 5% guy, just remind yourself that they weren't real. It's kind of like longing for a character in a movie. You're never going to meet that character. They're fictional. Same thing. Same thing. You can't miss what you never had. And I never had my narcissist. I've learned through all this research. He was never mine. He fancies himself the whole world's, I think. Even though the lies that they tell you is different. Right? I've deciphered. So it becomes much easier. And you will stop missing them. I promise. I'm sitting here to tell you that. Okay? Chin up.